Let's talk about this with all of this with Sam Armstrong. How worried are you about this threat from, I mean, again, do we think there's going to be a sort of a Conservative Lib Dem coalition government, completely inclusive and wonderful, really worried about rainbow flags and the like in Syria? I mean, no one sane thinks that. It could be worse than what Assad was doing to his own people. But either way, if jihadis are freed, and we have pretty much an open border, which always had some purposes anymore, with Europe and with Syria, how worried are you?
Well, the truth is that Syria is largely going to carry on as it has been for the last decade or so. No one part of the country is going to be ruled by the same faction as any other. You're going to see this country basically breaking down into something a lot more tribal, frankly, than you've seen in the past. And you've seen at the moment factions are organising on religious and ethnic grounds.
That's always a good sign.
The Kurdish sector is being run and ruled by Kurdish militants. The Druze, smaller religious sector, running their own affairs, as are the Shia parts, as are the small Sunni minorities. And I think, frankly, that is likely to continue. What you are going to see, though, is as it descends into a zone of chaos, in geopolitical parlance, you're going to see the barriers that are holding in these camps, these open-air prisons, basically. They're keeping the old ISIS fighters in, that everybody in Syria was agreed a bad apple, was bad hombres, and it takes a lot to be a bad hombre out there. You're going to see them beginning to scatter. And some of them, fact, are going to make their way fearlessly, tirelessly, relentlessly to our shores. For whatever reason, whether they associate with this country or whether they hate this country and wish to cause it damage.
We're a soft touch.
And the truth is, we are literally powerless to stop them. There is nothing we can do. There will be terrorists right now, former ISIS fighters, the most dangerous people on the surface of the planet, who are in a camp, who within a matter of months will be walking the streets alongside you and alongside me. And our authorities, Keir Starmer, are not prepared to do any of the things necessary to stop them.
They really aren't, and that is the real concern, isn't it? I didn't have much faith in the last lot. I have even less faith in this lot. But 6,500 Syrians claimed asylum in this country in recent years. Almost all of them have arrived on channel boats, arrived illegally. 1 in 6 of refugee claims that are actually granted are actually from people claiming, certainly to be from Syria. We know most people just drop their documentation. I mean, given so many coming from Syria, and we know that most people arrive without documentation, then, you know, what a coincidence, you know, how convenient. But we also know there are 70 Brits in these Syrian camps. 15 of them are men, jihadis, men who've left this country, born, bred in this country, many of them, you know, gone to Syria to fight for the Islamic State Caliphate when it was the latest big thing. 20 jihadi brides, including Shamima Begum, and some 40 children. I mean, this is terrifying if these people try and come back to the country. And, you know, we'll have the bleeding heart liberals going, oh, but they've got every right to be back here.
Look, I take a pretty strong view on this. British citizenship, being a subject of the Crown, is not something that is just inviolable that you get. If you choose to walk out of this country, if you choose to join our enemies, if you choose to renounce this country, everything it stands for, if you choose to hate the King, if you choose to hate...
No, you can hate... No, I think you're entitled to any of that. The key thing on this is that when people joined ISIS, they often did a ceremonial burning of their passport. They renounced their citizenship of Britain. Well, and then they wanted to... They basically said, I'm a citizen of the Islamic Caliphate. Well, fine.
As far as I'm concerned...
there you go, you made your bed.
Each and every one of those people individually declared war on this country. They did. And as far as I'm concerned, the moment you do that, you are no longer British, right? You don't get to just say that, oh, no, I was born here, I was raised here. No, I'm sorry. You chose to make your bed. Now you're going to lie in it. And that bed includes the fact that you said you were a citizen of the Islamic State. Now, the Islamic State got bombed out of existence distance, thank goodness.
Yep.
But I'm sorry, with that, so did your basic right to citizenship, nationhood, etc.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm very much the view that I would like these people back here and I want them in prison, but we know perfectly well they wouldn't be. Same with Shamima Begum. I think she's radicalised. I think she's a danger, terrorist threat to us as far as I'm concerned. But she wouldn't be kept in prison at all or for very long, and therefore is a risk. But I also don't want her being a risk to anyone else. That is the big concern. But as you say, we've got open borders. We have open borders. What can we do? Let's also talk about Rachel Reeves. Last night she vowed to take an iron fist to Whitehall spending. I mean, do you have any expectation or hope at all?
Yeah, she did that just as she announced another 100 million for civil service reform.
Well, there was this bizarre situation, wasn't there, where the Prime Minister was really quite rude about civil servants and the sort of failing civil service system. And then we had Pat McFadden, the real Deputy Prime Minister, Cabinet Office Minister, around going, oh, well, no, we just mean individual civil servants are very good, but they're trapped in a bad system. It's like, no, they're just upset that they've upset civil servants, even though they're going to have to upset civil servants to get anything sodding done in this country.
Yeah, look, it's taken the Labour Party all of 5 months to realise that the entire system of governance in this country is broken. It doesn't work. Every single Prime Minister, every single administration that goes in, doesn't matter what shade, what type of personality, comes in and says the same thing.
Yeah.
But they're all so paranoid of upsetting the civil service who then begin to leak everything to national
We know what happened to
newspapers.
virtually every Brexit supporting minister, the Priti Patels, the Dominic Raabs, everybody.
They complain you out
he
of
has
office.
the same sandwich every day and he once shouted, oh, get over yourself.
That nothing ever changes as this country spirals further and further into decline, and nothing in this country works anymore, and we're told to pretend that we have this Rolls-Royce civil service in which all of these officials are working tirelessly in order to make the country work better.
What I loved is that so many people in Labour, I think, were of the view, yes, but, you know, but the civil service, yeah, they're not neutral. Of course, they've not been neutral. They're A, not first class, and B, not neutral, not carrying out the duties of government as civil servants, not the masters, the servants. It's in the job title, guys. I think the view was, yeah, but they hated the Tories, but they're going to do our bidding because they love Labour. Yeah, they're not going to do what they're told with you guys either. I mean, it's just, do you think that things would be working better if Keir Starmer was ever in the country? I mean, you know, we had free gear, two-tier Keir. I mean, where are we, like Air Miles Starmer at this rate? The man is barely ever in the country. I think Guido Fawkes worked out he's spent a month of the 5 months he's been in power now abroad on various different junkets. Now, OK, I mean, an awful lot of these things, doing a tour of Bahrain, and he's in Cyprus today, thanking the troops for their work there in Cyprus. That's a worthwhile thing to do. But, I mean, you know, glad handing with a bunch of Arab leaders and yet another summit here and another summit there. It's all very well, and it is part of the job. But an awful lot of people are quite right in thinking, you know what, we've got quite a lot of stuff here that needs to be done. And we've seen this. I saw this with Tony Blair. You see it with pretty much every Prime Minister. They really like the foreign affairs thing because you go along, you grandstand, red carpets rolled out. They don't travel like we do. They're not sitting in cattle class on Ryanair, mate. You know, they're in their private jet, and I've got no problem with that. I mean, Labour criticised the Tories for it beforehand, but they're quite happy to use them now. You're the Prime Minister of this country. You should arrive in style. You should be able to work on the plane. I've got no issue with all of that. That's part of the cost of doing business. But they feel like they're getting stuff done and they're busy, because it's so much easier doing that sort of work than the really boring, hard slog, nitty-gritty of, you know, getting our immigration system sorted, sorting out the healthcare, sorting out the economy, boosting growth, doing the stuff which is really, you know, it's a hard slog, and you won't reap any real change and real achievement for at least 5 years, maybe even longer. But they don't like doing that. They'd rather be on a red carpet somewhere.
And, well, of course, one of the things you've got to look at is what the Prime Ministers tend to do when they leave office. And so many of them love to get onto these big international junket circuits, to get a UN position, to sit on this board, to go around there carrying on doing it. And there are some people that speculate that Keir Starmer, who it was reported, it had been in the last few days, was never really meant to become Prime Minister. There's been a bit of an accidental Prime Minister, is a nickname going around for him. Actually has now got his mind really on the next job, being a big figure on that international circuit for 10, 15, 20 years to come.
Well, look what happened to Nick Clegg. He's done very well. I mean, again, they go off and they make money. We know that. But again, for years, the EU, that's why they want to stay at the EU, because you go off, you know, you become president of the EU or something, don't they? That's what they wanted to do.
But of course, actually, it does matter that the Prime Minister is home, and I disagree with Matt Vickers actually on this, because
that's the Tory MP we
spoke to a bit earlier, who said, "Good job he's out of the country." Well, hang on, look, I want Keir Starmer to succeed, right?
Yes.
His ambitions are he's not said everything that I want him to say, but broadly speaking, I agree with everything he said. But here's the thing. Whitehall doesn't work. Civil servants don't work unless the Prime Minister gets personally involved, starts ordering stuff, cracking the whip, always demanding. You know,
accountability.
You said you were going to do this.
OK, you said you're going to do this, right? So 9 o'clock on Monday morning, back in my office, telling me what you've done.
Exactly. And the trouble is, Keir Starmer is simply not around long enough to make that happen. And that's before, of course, you factor in the fact that he doesn't work Friday evenings. We think he spends most of Saturday down the football at the executive box at Arsenal. So you are wondering, are we really looking at a part-time Prime Minister, or certainly a part-time Prime Minister in the country?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've had a part-time US president who's been asleep for the last 4 years, and my God, that shows in terms of America taking its eye off the ball. That's an issue as well, isn't it? Let's turn attention back to America, though. This arrest and charging of Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old man who's been charged with the murder over last week's fatal shooting of the United Healthcare chief executive Brian Thompson in what appeared to be a targeted assassination in New York City. Waited for a long time for this man to come out of the building and targeted him, shot him in the back of the head. He's been found after a 5-day manhunt. Concerned that he, you know, Ivy League student, you know, looks like he may have been radicalised. He's a suspect, of course, although, of course, the rules that the sub judice rules in the UK don't apply in the States. People are allowed to talk freely. But it looks like he's been praising the Unabomber. But also criticism of the American healthcare system. We understand that on his... on some of the weaponry he had, basically, what investigators say on the shell casings found at the scene of the murder were the words deny, defend, depose. These are apparently what critics call the 3 Ds of insurance, tactics used by health insurance companies to reject claims by patients in America's healthcare system. We know it's the biggest cause of bankruptcy in America. We've got our own crisis in our own healthcare system. There are 2 healthcare systems that definitely don't work in the world, America's and Britain's. Yeah. And they really, really don't. But there's a lot of anger at the healthcare and the insurance companies, and a scary amount of sympathy for this man, Luigi Mangione, the suspect. Yeah, and an awful lot of similarities to that Unabomber case. Yep. Like him, he's got a manifesto, and there are ideas within that manifesto that many Americans will sympathise, empathise with. And we know that the criminal justice system there does have a habit of making heroes out of those that commit heinous crimes. But look, it is a totally broken system, and you can understand some of the frustrations of millions of Americans. Of course, this man deserves to fry for what he's done. Absolutely, never justified. Now, also, a bigger story of the day, really, mince pie prices are up by up to, wait for it, 40% this year. I think in Tesco they've gone up by £1 for a packet of 6 mince pies. The reason why, I mean, who knew this? Turkey, which provides pretty much the entire world's sultana crop, has had a massive rainfall 2 years in a row, and they've basically not got many sultanas, so the price has gone up. It's called economics. We need to explain this to the Chancellor at some point. She hasn't got much economic background, as we know, but that means the price of them has gone up. However, in our office, amazingly, someone has, and I genuinely, these are homemade mince pies from the office kitchen, which someone has very lovingly left. Would you like a mince pie? I would. 40% higher than usual mince pie. I don't know whether the inside. My wages. So shall we're going to have our mince pies. Although they put them in the metal casings, but honestly, you can tell. Look, they are homemade. Let's hope they're as good as they look. Oh yeah, they're very good. Really good. They're very good. I'm not sure. I'll take that. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm not sure that eating mince pie while you're broadcasting is a good idea. But whoever made these, absolutely lovely. Thank you very much. We're going to have to take a break now for obvious reasons. Up next, your calls. I can't read the number out because I've got a mince pie in my gob. 11:19 is the time. This is Talk.